talking today about the secrets of D2C success. We're going to be covering what is D2C, direct-to-consumer sales, the 3 key levers between D2C success, and we're going to be sharing some real brand examples, and we'll have a Q&A. Either ask us in the audience or you can find us afterwards. But first of all, just so we can understand who we're talking to, a quick show of hands of who is in the room. So who's already selling products online, their products online? Who's using the Shopify platform to sell their products online? Great. Who feels that it's going well there on the online retail part of their business? Okay, and
less enthusiastic on that one.
Who feels it's going badly? And the rest of you is somewhere in the middle. Cool, brilliant. Oh. Great. So my name's Tash. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bolt Digital. We're a UK growth agency for brands operating on Shopify. We work with a range of brands from small sort of startup brands through to the likes of Bacardi and the Inky List, helping them grow their D2C revenues. I've previously built and sold 3 businesses, written 2 books, and I'm an accredited trainer for Facebook.
That's me, that's my background. It's a little bit more all over the shop. I've been in MarTech, comedy, fintech, film. Ultimately, what I like doing and do is grow interesting businesses in divergent spaces. So my role here at Bolt Digital is to be MD and help these businesses grow in D2C as the route to market.
So yeah, Bolt Digital is a UK authority on D2C growth. We've really owned that market position over the past few years. We're partners with, so those of you who are on Shopify may know some of these apps. We're partners with Shopify, partners with Klaviyo, Recharge, which is a subscription app. Is anybody using Recharge in their e-commerce store to drive customer subscriptions? Nope, okay. And we're partners with Facebook, Google, and TikTok. And these are an example of some of the brands we've worked with. As you can see, a mix of health, fashion, and lifestyle brands. So all of us know, I hope, it would be hard to miss it, about how e-commerce has changed over the past few years. Obviously, coronavirus had a massive impact on that, but it was actually only accelerating what was already happening in terms of consumer behaviours and technology, with brands like Shopify making it very easy to set up and run an e-commerce store. It doesn't mean it's easy to do it at scale or successfully, but it's easy to get started using a platform like Shopify, and consumers increasingly preferring to shop online, enjoying the convenience and quick delivery. So e-commerce sales post-COVID is still predicted to reach 40% of all retail sales by 2025, and 1 in every 3 sales is made online. So why does D2C suit brands? Hand over to you.
I think there's a list of reasons up there, but ultimately there's the kind of economic reasons, brand reasons, and then kind of customer reasons. So it's probably what you guys that are experimenting on e-commerce already are kind of seeing, is that you have, for me, the most interesting one is the direct relationship that you have with the customer and the ownership of that customer. And we'll move on to kind of why that's interesting, both economically and from a brand point of view in a sec. But yeah, I think, do you want to touch on a couple of those? I mean, this is one of the, go back to that slide. This is kind of, it's an interesting time in e-commerce in the sense it's very bubbly and it's definitely growing at a great rate. But D2C brands like some of these heroes you see up here, Absolute Collagen, who we've worked with, Glamnetic, Glossier, you can see over the last couple of years, they've all achieved valuations and exits that were previously reserved for the world of like tech. Fintech companies would get 10x valuations on revenue. And actually what's happening with direct to consumers, these brands are getting these really, really punchy valuations. So it's not just a kind of, oh, well, we sell in retail and store and whatever, let's also just sell our stuff online. It's like there is a real route to market play here that adds extreme levels of kind of long-term exit valuation to your business if you can do it successfully.
Yeah, and a lot of the brands, well, pretty much most of the brands we work with actually want to exit. We work with a number of partners to help them exit. And what's really interesting is they are achieving crazy valuations. There's a pet brand in America, well, and achieving them and realizing a pet brand in America called Zesty Paws, which is a dog supplement brand, which recently sold. Does anyone know Zesty Paws? No. Okay, they were, Amazon first started on Amazon and then moved on to Shopify as well. So typical Amazon private label brand is where it originated from, moving on to Shopify. They were recently acquired by a Hong Kong-based group that aggregates brands for 650 million. So those sorts of revenue-based valuations are not necessarily how e-commerce will continue over the long term. People acquiring brands will look for them to become profitable, but right now and for the past few years, we've been existing in a space where e-commerce brands are able to achieve crazy multiples of revenue due to the potential global scale from which brands can operate, and their direct relationship with their customers and their ability to then sell their customers more and more products and cross-sell them into other brands. So every day we talk to brands and business owners, and they basically are all coming to us with the same solution, the same problem. How do they scale their brand direct to consumer? How do they make the direct to consumer channel work better, grow faster and more efficiently for them? What time and resource they need to invest? And normally brands ask us, how much money are they going to make? Which isn't a question we're always able to answer because we don't actually have crystal balls. However, what we do have is a way of assessing brands and helping brand owners understand the underlying economics of their brand, which in turn helps them understand the things they can do to make a difference to both their revenue on store this year, next year, and in future years, and in their overall valuation. So this is a graphic that we came up with to illustrate the complexity of the direct-to-consumer channel.
It's meant to be overwhelming, by the way. It's not, you're meant to look at that and go, that's easy. You're meant to go, oh my God, there's so much stuff there to do. And you probably can't see it because it's quite small up there.
Each line, so I mean, it's based on the fact that, I mean, I don't know who remembers first coming to London and trying to navigate their way around the tube map. So my first experience coming to London was coming and just standing at Paddington Station and looking at the tube map and thinking, oh my God, what on earth does that mean? And this was based on that principle, with each line on this tube map representing a different element of a successful direct-to-consumer channel, from influencer marketing to email marketing. I actually need to look in and see it, through to SEO, through to your tech stack, the platform that you're on, and what you're doing on email to drive customer retention. So it's a very complicated channel, and even in this one single channel, and a lot of you guys I'm sure are selling in retail as well, you're already operating bricks and mortar stores, and then you look at what you've got to do to make your D2C channel successful, and it's like a whole other world that is probably just as complicated, if not more complicated, if you're trying to learn the technology at the same time.
So we're going to talk about these things, which is what we call the D2C Holy Grail metrics and the key levers. So ultimately, this is taking the idea of the tube map, which you need to do all of that stuff eventually, and trying to consolidate it down to some fundamental economic principles that you need to understand to be able to grow and scale your D2C business. And this is taking an assumption, and that assumption is that your brand is good, that your products are good, that you're a good founder, that you have ethics, that you care, all the stuff that I'm sure everyone already has, which is that they've built a great thing that they care about and are precious about, but can't see the route to scaling it. So let's assume that you have a good product with a good brand, and this comes down to the kind of fundamental economic ways you need to look at that brand online to actually scale it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to add to that good product is that people want to buy your product. And that sounds really brutal, but we meet a lot of brand owners and founders the whole time, and the number one question is, does this product sell? Is this a product that people want to buy? What's going to be the average order value of that customer, and what's going to be the pace of velocity through the store? So in any niche, whether it's something completely random, you can have high velocity products, and then you can have products that don't really sell. So a lot of the brands we work with are in the beauty space. Is anyone here in beauty? One, okay. Well, I won't be too rude about it, no, but I was going to say something about beauty, which is beauty is an incredibly competitive space to be in. If you think about female consumers, we're actually quite disloyal, right? We're always looking for the next best thing, and you know, your head's always able to be turned by another product or brand coming along. And in beauty, we see a lot of similar products, particularly in skincare, where founders will be incredibly passionate about their ingredients, and that this product contains this particular ingredient from this particular range of mountains in this particular far-flung distant country, and they believe that will make the difference to consumers. Sadly, it doesn't, you know, especially female consumers. So we often have meet brand founders who are very passionate, have put a lot of research time into product development, ultimately have come up with a product that is just not distinct, is hitting a sort of pain point that female consumers don't care about, and struggles to sell. So the three key levers for any brand that will determine your future success in e-commerce are the cost of customer acquisition, the average order value, and the customer lifetime value. So how much a customer spends over time. And just to give you all some reassurance, there is not a brand, well, there's very few brands in the country that don't have a problem on one or more of these areas. Even if you look at huge brands doing, say, 60 million or 100 million in revenue, they may be able to acquire customers, they may be able to get those customers to spend more in their first order, but those customers may not return. At the other end of the spectrum, you have customers who have to spend, brands that have to spend an incredible amount to acquire a customer, but then once they've got the customers, those customers come back again and again and again, and so are incredibly loyal. So we very rarely see brands that don't struggle in one or more of these areas. It's not so much whether you struggle or not that matters, it's whether or not ultimately those three numbers can be made to align and whether or not you can improve one or all of them. For instance, it may be that it's always going to cost you a lot to acquire a customer. However, if the customer's then loyal and becomes profitable over their lifetime, then that doesn't matter. So it's always a question of looking at the three key levers, understanding what your cost of acquisition is, what your average order value is, and what your lifetime value is, and working out, is there a path to improving one or all three of these metrics? We've actually put a downward arrow on the cost of customer acquisition, which suggests that your goal is to lower the cost of customer acquisition. Whilst this is your goal, this isn't just to give, sort of the brutal truth on it. It's extremely difficult to lower the cost of customer acquisition. This is probably the metric that will be hardest for any brand to change, particularly as e-commerce gets more and more and more competitive. There is actually a term called CPA inflation, which means globally the cost of acquiring customers for all brands will rise over time. However, getting your customers to spend more at first order and getting more revenue from them over time are two levers that it is possible to make a significant impact on. So, talking about cost per acquisition and what you can do to get that cost down or manage that cost over time. So, first of all, just being sure we understand what cost of customer acquisition is. It's normally measured as your total media and marketing spend divided by your total number of new customers acquired each month. So it's a blended measure looked at a store level. You can also look at it on a platform level, i.e. if you're advertising what Facebook tells you it costs you to acquire a customer, what Google tells you, but the most important place to look at it is a blended measure over an online store. And these are some of the things that brands do to get their cost of acquisition down. Would you like to cover this?
I mean, it's relentless, as Tash has already kind of alluded to, CPA inflation. I mean, it's kind of, I was just thinking the equivalent of like real world would be, this is what it cost. There's a fee for that brand to sit there, and there are a number of other brands in this space. And it's like, well, imagine in 3-6 months' time, actually the fee to sit there is doubled, and there's twice as many brands in this building, and maybe actually half as many people coming. And that's how kind of aggressive these platforms are with things like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all this good stuff. Like the cost of advertising, the cost of acquiring a customer is kind of relentlessly going up. But there are some things here, like the kind of economic stuff like entry perks, hype and PR, the magic of virality and kind of creating that consumer hype through social proofing, through other more organic channels like TikTok, influencers, all that kind of stuff. Entry perks is a thing that we see all the time. Some more creative tropes, which we'll dive into a bit more as well, like real people, real results, experts, validation, personalization is a huge thing, particularly in health and beauty for D2C brands. That kind of real or illusionary journey that you go on as a consumer to believe that that brand really understands you and is personalizing something to you. So these are some kind of, and we'll touch on it again with some of the creative executions, because that's really what it comes down to, is how are you creatively communicating to that person at first point of contact with your brand. And for a lot of you guys that may be younger brands or have less time in the market, you've got to be even more aggressive in that creative proposition, because you are standing out in a place where people have a lot of brand equity and people already know the brands, and so those guys are kind of you've got to try and take those brands' customers basically. So unlike in traditional advertising, basically it's a different way of communicating to people. A lot of you guys may know this when you advertise on social channels, but unlike I suppose older world ads where you'd sit in a room and ideate a TV commercial or a billboard and you go, yeah, that's it, that's our brand message and that's our one shot we've got with this fee that we're putting out there. In social, you can build funnels and different messages to people along different points of their journey with the brand. So you can say something to someone that's never heard of your brand before, and then something different to them 2 weeks later or a few days later when they have heard of your brand, or something different to them when they've clicked on something to do with your brand, or you can talk to them differently if they like that competitor of yours or this competitor of yours. So you can really segment. Obviously, a lot of this is driven by the amount of resource and budget you can put behind it, but you can really segment and kind of tell a little micro moment journey to your customers on these channels. So what would you say to Tash, who's never heard of your brand, first? Then what would you say to her afterwards? And then what would you say when you saw her in a week's time? Then what would you say if you saw her down a bar? So that kind of way of thinking, of communicating to your customer, rather than going, this season it's about the color green and that's our big shot. It's like, no, break that down into micro moments that your consumers and potential consumers can digest with you over these channels that you're acquiring the customers on. Looks a bit like the next slide. That, yeah.
It does look a bit like this slide. So these are at its simplest forms, the different points at which you can give a customer a different message. So when you're first trying to attract them, as you're trying to educate them and get them over the line, when you're converting them, asking them to buy, and then when you're trying to drive loyalty. So, I mean, I'm sure all of you use platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Put your hands up if you're on Facebook and Instagram. And who's on TikTok? Who looks at TikTok as a... So a few of you. So, I mean, you will have found yourself caught up in these content sequences published by big digital first brands, whether that's the likes of Beauty Pie or fashion brands such as Never Fully Dressed, the brands that are the leaders in this space. And you will notice once you're caught in a content funnel from a brand, which means you probably made the mistake of watching one of their videos or going on their website, you will now never get out of it, that they start bombarding you with different messages and different creatives as time goes on. Some of these content sequences go on for a year or more, and you're being shown different examples of products you can buy and different reasons to buy. So the whole time they're thinking about, okay, this person has been to our website and they haven't bought anything. Why haven't they bought anything? And what can we say to them now to help them convert over time? In the work that we do at Bolt Digital, we use a number of different creative formats. We run a production that is probably around 200 creatives per month for the brands that we work with. And for anyone trying to produce creatives to advertise their products, that is a resource in itself. So the way we've simplified that is by creating formats such as, I wonder if any of these play actually, let me just see if these play. No, they don't. Such as static ads, press ads. We have something called a mega grid, which is where we put a load of reviews from all sorts of people demonstrating products. So you've probably seen these again online. You'll see lots of people, real life customers, user generated content, holding up products and talking about how much they love it. And all of these are formats that we know to enable us to produce the high volume of creatives that are required for an e-commerce store at scale. So the second metric that you have to look at as in a digital space as an e-commerce brand is your average order value. And that is how to get what your customers typically spend at first purchase with you. So for those of you who know this, and I don't know, we'll see who does, who has an average order value on their Shopify store of under £30? So who has under 50, 30 to 50? And who's got an average order value of over £50? Okay, so just again to benchmark you so you can see where you would sit globally and how your e-commerce brand is likely to play out. If you have an average order value of under £30, you are going to require cash in order to grow your business. It's unlikely, unless you have a large amount of viral activity around your product, that you will be able to scale that brand profitably. That's simply because of the typical costs of product margins, product shipping, so what it will cost you to buy your product and get it to a customer, and then the typical costs of advertising and customer acquisition and digital activity that you need to do, whether that's SEO or whatever it is that you're doing. So if you have a product that's selling under £30, you're going to need to work really, really hard to get your customers to buy more at that first purchase. £50 and under, depending on your product margins, you can scale that brand profitably at point of purchase. Brands that have an average order value of over £50 are in a much safer zone in terms of their ability to scale. You're likely to be able to acquire customers profitably at point of purchase, and they are not as cash hungry as brands with an average order value of under £30. So one of the ways to increase your average order value, there's a lot of technology you can put into your site to show people more and more products. Actually, this isn't in this presentation, but there's an app called One Click Upsell, which puts people through a series of product. Once they've purchased, puts them through a series of now get this, now get this, now get this with just one click. That works really well in terms of increasing average order value. There's a lot of technology in the Shopify App Store that's all about increasing average order value. Also, for those of you selling products under £30, bundling is really, really important. So and you can do this with a collection of even only 4 products, is create a number of different bundles, calling them like spring bundle, this bundle, that bundle, so that you can try and push up your average order value over time. Another thing we've done, actually, we have an in-house brand, which is a dog supplement brand. We've actually changed the prices on that. So that is a brand we acquired, and it was fundamentally flawed in that it had a low average order value of about £16, which basically means it's going to be a very cash hungry brand. There's no way around that. That's just the facts of the market. So in that instance, we've actually changed the prices of that brand to push the average order value up to £30, which will enable it to grow faster. Lifetime value.
The big one.
Yes, it is the big one.
It's the big one. Lifetime value of a customer to your brand is, I mean, when we talked about that slide with the big punchy exit valuations of those brands, a lot of what the VC money or whatever is looking for is this metric here, the customer lifetime value, because if you, like Tash has alluded to, if you can kind of cash pump it, you can go and acquire customers within a £20 to £100 range, and it doesn't matter because you can cash roll it and you can bundle up the products and develop more products. It's the customer lifetime value piece that provides real long-term kind of value both to your business, so, if you hold it or exit it. Lifetime value is a huge metric out of the 3.
So all the brands we work with drive lifetime value through Klaviyo. Anyone who says that email marketing is old school and doesn't work is just simply not speaking the truth. When you look at a mature brand, it will have up to 50% of its revenue contributed via email marketing. And that puts it really into a safe zone in terms of they know, even if they are battling with a low average order value and high acquisition costs, they know that each month 50% of their revenue is going to come off their email database. So these are some visual example of campaigns, but Klaviyo is by far one of the best email marketing systems that there are around for driving lifetime value. And in terms of how to use it and how frequently to send email, again, you only need to look at the leaders in this space to see how much they send emails. So if you take a brand like Never Fully Dressed, I don't know why that's on my mind today, but they send emails pretty much every single day. And we often deal with brand owners who say, oh, I don't want to send too many emails. I don't want to pester people. And it's just, if you look at any brand that's growing fast, they're all sending emails all the time for the simple reason that they are trying to grow their customer lifetime value. They know that lifetime value is a fundamental indicator of their brand's future success and ability to scale. And they also know that people only open every 1 in 4 emails anyway. So it gives them a presence in an inbox. It gives them the chance to educate customers, drive loyalty, whether or not they're talking about here's a new product we've just launched, or whether or not they're actually telling you more about the brand and why it started and their origin in order to get you back again. So email marketing is absolutely fundamental, as is an app called Recharge, which is about driving subscriptions. So there are certain products that are really suited to subscription, and those are supplements, deodorant, consumable products that we use every single day. So locking in a customer to a subscription, again, I think subscription brands are valued at or have been valued at 10 times their revenue, and single purchase brands without subscribers are valued at 6 times their revenue. That's because the lifetime value of a customer is more stable and more secure with a subscription brand. Do any of you have subscriptions to any products? Not many of you. It's really interesting because we work with so many subscription brands. I always think everyone has subscriptions to everything. What's really interesting, and one thing that really surprised me, is the customer's willingness to subscribe. So in terms of the subscription brands we've worked at, when subscription apps like Recharge first launched around 3 or 4 years ago, I thought, God, no customer's ever going to subscribe. Like, why would anyone want to subscribe to your product? So OTT. In actual fact, for brands in supplements or these fast-moving consumer goods companies, you see up to 40 to 60% of customers go into a subscription at their first purchase. So it is amazing how many customers are willing to subscribe if it's a product they really want, if it's a product that they know they're going to use fast, and if there's a compelling reason to subscribe. Sometimes that's a discount or next day shipping. In other instances, just being part of the in club. So for instance, Wild Deodorant, who are on this slide, run a whole value add program for their subscribers, which includes being able to go to their office and have a tour of their office if you want, which is something you wouldn't expect people to want to do, but they do very much do that. So coming on to some real world examples.
I was going to suggest we could make some up. Like, I'll do a really bad one of the use of those 3 key levers, and you do a really good one.
Okay, all right, go on then.
So just make it even more real. So say you're a brand that sells, this is an extreme example, lip balm. And let's look at what a lip balm.
By the way, we have seen brands like this. This is not.
Yeah, this is from experience,
real.
right?
Yeah.
So say you mostly sell lip balm. And let's go through those key levers. So your average order value is something we know it's going to be. Say your lip balm costs £7 because it's particularly good or whatever. So your cost of acquisition on things like Facebook, Instagram, what would you say about
25?
About £15 to £25, because that's kind of industry benchmark. It's what it costs now. So you're spending about £15 to acquire a customer. That customer is then spending £7 with you, minus your margin. Maybe you're making kind of £4 on it. That customer then doesn't come back again for 6 months. So all you have done there is create vanity revenue, essentially, that you've driven some revenue in, but it's cost you a lot and they're not going to come back again. And so there's not much value in that customer. Now you could say, well, you could maybe try and flip that. How would you improve it? You could bundle up some new products in there. You could make it a subscription service so that every like month or 2 months they get a new pack of whatever. You could do product drops or new flavors, whatever. But like that is kind of, and we've seen it, like a prime example of where direct consumer just economically does not stack up as a route to market. Does stack up if you're doing point of sale stuff and like impulse purchases, but it wouldn't stack up in D2C. And then a good example would be,
well, Skin and Me. So they're confident. If ever you see a brand giving away their first month for free, then you know they're either venture capital funded, which they probably are, but you also know that they've got a brilliant product and they're going to get you on your lifetime value. So Skin and Me is a customizable skin cream. Is anyone a Skin and Me customer? Yes.
Not that good then, are they?
We have one Skin and Me customer in the room. So they get you in on a free month of your customized product. It's perfectly measured, so it runs out pretty fast. You know, utilization rate is super important, so they know you're going to get through it. And then the product is good, so it's not like that they've sold you down a river or whatever the phrase would be. Like, it's a genuinely good product, so they know that the Skin and Me customer will end up being worth 12 months or 18 months of value, which means they can scale this brand knowing that they are going to get that lifetime value from you over average, as an average of all their customers. That doesn't mean they don't work hard to keep you engaged and keep stressing to their customers. It's never a fait accompli. You know, your lifetime value is only what it is now if you keep doing what you're doing right now. So Skin and Me do a lot to maintain lifetime value, building up hype, sending email marketing, telling you again and again how great their product is, how you need to keep using it to see results. So another example, just giving some real world illustrations of what brands are doing to suppress CPA and increase AOV. So Paula's Choice, which is a big American brand, actually originally a retail brand, but is now got a huge D2C channel. You can see they're giving 15% off full skincare kit sets. That's a tactic to suppress the CPA and make your buying decision less difficult for you. You're thinking, okay, cool, 15% off, I'll go for that. Then they're bundling their products. That's a tactic to get you to spend more at first order. And finally, their email marketing is driving lifetime value.
Should we talk quickly about a gifting brand that we were, not name them, but the gift, because there's probably, who owns like what they would consider like a gifting type brand, like stuff like that is going on here today, jewelry, bags, scarves, stuff like that. Actually, not that many people. Okay, fine. Because there's a lot of examples here that are very beauty-led and very subscription beauty product-led and that kind of stuff. But we're working with brands that will also sell gifting things. Yeah. And so you lean into things like seasonality, and that's how you build customer lifetime value. You make it the destination place for Mother's Day, Easter, Christmas, birthdays, etc., etc. So it's not just the case that you need to pivot everything and go, right, we need a personalized subscription skincare brand. It's a matter of kind of taking those economic metrics and leaning them into whatever it is that you're selling and whatever your brand does, basically.
So in the instance of this gifting brand, and this is a brand moving off Amazon and building out their Shopify channel from Amazon. So they already do about 15 million in revenue on Amazon and want to build their D2C channel on Shopify. So they are able to acquire customers during seasonal moments at an incredibly low CPA. However, their average order value is also not as high as you might want it to be if you were fully focused on these metrics. Obviously, any brand that works with us becomes more focused on these metrics. So they've got no problem in customer acquisition during seasonal moments. They have to work on their AOV. And the next challenge for them is how to drive their lifetime value. So how do they make it so that when you think, oh, I want to buy a gift for my mum, you actually look out for their emails and go to their website versus all the different gifting options are available. And that is going to be deployed through email marketing. So just before we go to Q&A, and we'll be here for a few minutes, anyone wants to come and talk to us as well, just a bit of information about how you can work with Bolt Digital. There are 3 ways we work with brands. Our strategy lab process is a consultation advisory process for building direct-to-consumer channels. Our accelerator product is a testing process to allow us to test brands on those 3 key levers and determine whether they do have scalability or a path to scalability. And finally, our playbook process is one through which we train in-house teams. So if brands have an in-house team of more than 5 people working in the direct-to-consumer channel who need more support and training, then that is something we can help with. Also, twice a year we host a direct-to-consumer conference called D2C Live. The next one is in April and it's in West London. It's the UK's, well, it's the UK's first. It becomes leading. If you become the first, then you are the leader. It's the UK's, it's a brilliant conference actually. We have amazing speakers from all sorts of different Shopify brands who are operating at scale, sharing their stories and highs and lows, as well as advice from tech platforms and tech partners on how to improve those 3 key levers. So that is the link there to pre-register for that next conference, and tickets will be going on sale soon.
And that's my personal contact details. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's it. Great. So we'll stick around, right?
Yeah, we'll stick around. And does anyone have any questions right now? So come and find us afterwards if you've got any questions. But thanks, everyone. Great to see you all.
Thanks guys.